Hello, and thank you for joining us for the MidPointe Liberty one-year anniversary project. Could you please tell us your name and position with the library?
My name is Martha Griffin, and I'm the Staff Training and Development Coordinator.
So just for a little bit of background, could you tell us about your position?
Sure. So my day-to-day looks different every day. So I'm here to address any training or development needs that might arise with staff, and that includes every department, every branch, every level of the organization. So that covers a lot. So one day I might be doing new employee orientation, and then the next day I might be doing a one-on-one training or preparing for a system-wide training effort, filming a training video, or taking someone out in the bookmobile who's brand new and needs to practice driving it for the first time. So every day looks very different for me, and it covers a lot of different types of things.
My name is Heather, and my position here at MidPointe Library Liberty is that I'm a Public Services Library Associate. Even though it does seem like it is kind of like routine in the schedule where we have like set places where we are like, hour to hour, it does vary every single day on like what's going to happen. So like you could be out at the front desk, for the first, 2 hours when we open, helping people that come in with like, if they have questions with Hoopla or Libby, or, like they want to place a hold on Vega, so you're helping them there. I mean, you could even be running to the printer, the copier, trying to help with that.
My name is Noelle, and I am a community engagement youth programmer. As a youth programmer, I am primarily working with children, infants through preschool age. And my day-to-day typically goes where in the mornings I'm really busy with providing those programs for that age group, because that's when they're up and awake and alert and taking on their day. So I'm really busy in the morning with them, with the families, with the children. And then in the afternoons, I spend that time preparing and planning for those programs.
My name is Jenny, and I'm a Patron Services Lead here at MidPointe. As a PSL, some of my responsibilities include creating passive programming like scavenger hunts. I also take appointments for our Point Assist and proctoring services as needed. I fulfill shelf help requests, and I provide tours as needed.
So far, since the Liberty Branch building has been opened, we haven't had a new team member join. But when we do, whenever that happens for the first time, a lot of the training that new person will receive will be pretty similar to what new employees at other branches receive. There's a lot of similarities branch to branch. So multiple branches have an AMH, or an automated materials handler system, which, if you're not sure what that is, if you go into one of our branches and you see sort of a hole in the wall to return your items and it has a screen, that's an entry point for an AMH. When patrons return an item through there, it goes through a conveyor belt system that not only checks it in, but also sorts it for more efficient sorting, reshelving in the branch for our staff. And it also has a way to notify staff if another patron has a hold on that returned item. So it's a very cool system. The AMH at this branch is a different system than we have at some of our other branches. In addition to that, we have our smart lockers here. The smart lockers have been a cool feature of our Liberty branch for a long time now, and they're a very popular service that we're able to offer our patrons that allows them to pick up their holds even when the regular library branch is closed. But the system, when we moved to this new building, is a brand new system, which is so cool and has lots of cool new features, but that also means we all needed to relearn how to use those lockers correctly. And so that would be something that new employees would need to learn how to do as well.
How would you describe the Liberty Branch?
So the Liberty Branch has a vibrancy that can be felt as soon as you walk in the door. And I think I can really attribute that to the space, the natural light that comes in, the aesthetics. It's a very welcoming, open space. So because we have a larger space, we've been able to offer services that the other MidPointe branches already offered, such as the study rooms and the bookable meeting spaces. We've also been able to add services like the tours and proctoring appointments that we just couldn't offer when we were at the mall.
Here we've got windows in abundance, and it's like really nice, sometimes the light is like shining in your eyes, but it just feels very warm with, you can look out, you still see the outside world, you don't feel like you're secluded, you're still in this like nice, warm, cozy library vibe era, but you don't feel like you're kept off from reality.
What goes into opening or moving into a new branch?
Wow, it's so much. Moving into a new location there's so much to think about. And I don't have to deal with the actual like building of walls and things like that. That is so, the folks that do that are so much smarter than me. But I love the parts of that I get to be involved with, whether it be looking at how we brand a building, how we promote openings, how we introduce programming, there's a lot of time that we spend behind the scenes looking at statistics, looking at demographics. Folks think like, oh, you put a library, that could be nice, right? No, we plan and plan and plan because we know, okay, we're going to look at the demographics of this area has a lot of young families. Here's what they're going to need out of a library. This might be an aging community. What can we do to best fit the needs of that community? So there's really a lot of intentional things we do whenever we open a branch to make sure we are not just meeting the needs right where we are, but looking down the road to make sure we continue to meet those needs.
We looked at the floor plan and the planning, put plenty of electric and data all throughout the building because you just don't know where things may move or shift over time.
There's a lot of, kind of trying to figure out like, okay, which functions need to go next to which other functions? Do you want, are there things that you're hoping to maybe make available before or after hours? Okay, those should be here in the building. Are we going to have the automated materials handler that checks the materials in for the staff? Okay, then that needs to sit kind of here. You want the meeting room to be divisible or not? Do you want the children's department to be like the first thing people see, nice and colorful? Or do you want it to be tucked back a little bit so that little kids, if they get away from their caregivers, somebody can catch them before they go out the door? So you usually want like the busy things to have some distance from, places where people want to settle in for some quiet work. So you really want to think through that kind of thing. And, thinking about, okay, well, the piece of land we have, it slopes this way or that way or wherever for drainage, we need to have it over here, over there, but the property lines are like this and the easement is like that. So there's a lot of, you want the building to flow in a certain way. You need it to sit on the site in a certain way. We actually had to go out to bid, a second time, breaking the project up a little bit, which was unexpected. So the building was actually supposed to have opened earlier than it did.
Oh.
It was supposed to have been built and finished earlier than it ended up because, we anticipated that first time to bid would be it and we'd get, folks to work with and go forward. And that is not how it shook out. So it was just a real lesson in being, and, the architecture firm we worked with, they had experience with libraries. That was very helpful. The construction firm, they had experience building libraries. So they were able to, the library we built over here, they actually wanted like XYZ, have you thought about that? Or, and we would say, well, yes, we see why, but we're trying to do this. Or we'd say, oh, that is a good point. What do we want to do about that? Okay, let's do this. So it was there was quite a bit of give and take, and so that was. But it was a learning process the whole way through, for sure. And there were times when I thought, oh my goodness, this is. I don't know where this is going to go, but we got closer and closer.
Well, I will say preparing for the grand opening was definitely more than training. There was a lot that went into that and lots of people involved. But they were two high priority training items that I talked to the branch manager about before we opened. There were some other things as well. But the two main things were, one, we wanted to make sure everybody was comfortable with emergency procedures in this branch. Another high priority item was making sure everyone was trained on meeting room policies and being able to book meeting rooms for patrons and for staff use. So in the previous branch, there weren't any enclosed spaces at all. So there was nothing that patrons could book. So staff weren't as familiar with those procedures and systems as staff would be at other branches.
So the first day that we were allowed to be in the building and shelving was incredible because you've got this brand new building, every shelf is empty. And then we've got these temporary shelving units that all the books were placed on and just completely wrapped in plastic wrap. So we had to undo those and then put everything on the shelves. And I think, if I remember correctly, in the first 2 days of shelving, I want to say we had 10 to 12 people helping us, but we shelved about 17,000 items in those 2 days. We were all very tired, but it was so gratifying to see the library starting to look like a library and not just a building.
The Liberty Center opened, I can't remember exactly what year, 2016 maybe. When it first opened, Carrie had a contact there, Carrie Hillman, our community engagement director, and arranged for us to do story times weekly on Friday mornings outside of the children's play area, which turned out to be a regular draw. There were lots of families coming for that on the regular. They were averaging close to 100 attendees every Friday. And I can't speak for the mall, but I'm assuming that the mall saw value in that and approached us about having a permanent storefront in that location. We were able to deliver services to the Liberty community, even though we knew in the back of our mind that this was kind of a toehold, if you will, in the community, just until we could get a bigger full service branch built. We knew that space met basic collection needs, but it was missing some things that, like computer access, meeting rooms, programming space, things like that.
The two branches were almost night and day. Everything from the size to the aesthetic to the number of items that we're able to keep on the shelves, and the foot traffic is different. We've really kind of morphed from a grab and go location to a stay a while location. I loved working at a library branch that was in such a unique location. Because we were in a mall, we often got mistaken for a bookstore, and the look of surprise on people's faces when we told them it was a public library was priceless. But it was so great it was such a great experience to work in a library that was right where the community is. Our day-to-day was pretty similar to what it is now, but on a much smaller scale and much slower paced.
So what was it like when you opened the branch up?
So because of our location, we weren't in like a storefront. We did have a quite open space, and so we had gates that we had to open and close every day. So each morning we would have to open the gates and push out most of our shelving out to the floor. And then at the end of the day, we'd have to push it all back in and then drop the gates.
So what is one thing that you might miss about the old branch?
So I definitely miss being able to watch the mall's community events like the Lunar New Year celebration, but I also miss being a part of those events like the Read Across America Day or the Monster Mash Trick or Treat event. That was great, being able to see all the families come in with everybody in costume. It was always a lot of fun. When we were at the mall, we were able to have about 10,000 items on the shelves.
Okay.
When we opened on June 1st, we had about 30,000 items on the shelves.
When I was first hired by MidPointe in 2019, I started out working at the Liberty branch in the mall location as an adult library specialist. So that meant that sometimes I was the person greeting you when you came into the library, helping you check in and out, emptying the book drop, doing a lot of those regular library tasks. But then another part of my job was I was also planning and carrying out adult programs for patrons in that area. And part of the job at the time was also doing outreach into different community locations. And so I would go out, especially to local memory care facilities, nursing homes, and assisted living facilities. And occasionally they'd also send me into schools to do school story times. But I was mostly an adult specialist, so I didn't do that too often. And I found that job very creatively fulfilling for a number of reasons, but one of those reasons was the uniqueness of the space. So some of the programs that worked at other branches where you could close the door on a room didn't quite work in the mall. You had to always be thinking outside the box and looking for creative solutions to make programming available to that community. Thankfully, Liberty Center was very cooperative with us and very kindly allowed us to host library programs in different locations all over Liberty Center, and that was wonderful. We were able to do some things out in their little park area or host library programs in what they called the living room. One really memorable one was I arranged for us to host a self-defense workshop, and the only place we could hold it at that time was in the actual library space during an evening where we knew there was going to be heavy foot traffic. So we definitely had to do some problem solving there. And it helped that about half of the shelving units were on wheels. So we just figured out a way to rearrange the branch just for that one evening for a couple of hours so that no one would get bumped into by those of us who were practicing self-defense. And then we put the library back as it was when all was said and done. And that was just a very memorable evening.
It was kind of cool to be right there. People would just kind of stumble upon us, and lots of times they thought we were a bookstore, and then they find out that we're a library, and they're just blown away. And so the novelty of that was a great conversation starter and getting people in, like, yeah, look how convenient it is.
What was it like planning programming for that location?
So that was a logistical nightmare. There wasn't any storage and real space really for me to have these programs. And so it really took a creative approach to figure out how I was going to do all of that. So a lot of the materials I had to transport in. I had what we would joke was my Cadillac of a wagon. I mean, it was like 7 feet long or something like that, you know? And we even joked about attaching a tow hitch to that and putting another wagon on the back because of all the materials I wanted to bring with me. And then to just, there are no walls at the old space. It was that open floor plan. So that made it hard to contain the toddlers so they didn't like run away down the mall, you know, to go check out Build-A-Bear or whatever.
What goes into like an actual grand opening ceremony?
Oh, wow. I have so many plans, work plans, lots of scripts, lots of reaching out to media, promoting to the community, inviting the folks that we want to make sure are there for these big moments. Love coordinating all programming, all the, you know, even just, what are we going to give away? What swag do we have? What signage do we have? How do we make sure folks know where to park? There's a lot that goes into it that folks don't see, but it's always fun.
Where do you get the big scissors from?
The Chamber of Commerce, bless them. They're so wonderful. Of course, those big scissors are fantastic.
3, 2, 1,
The grand opening was surprising, like with how many people came out to embrace their new library in the community. It was a real heartwarming experience, I think, and being there and all the people lined up outside to see the ribbon cutting and then to come in and all the kids getting their library cards and just so many smiles and people ready to enjoy and embrace their new space here. So it was really exciting. It was like thrilling to be part of that and to see all that and the community come out for that. That was really fun.
Oh my gosh, the level of anticipation in the air was palpable. I've never been a part of anything like that before, so I was so excited to be a part of it. But what I remember most about the grand opening was the sheer number of people that came out to support us. Library love is alive and well in Butler County.
I'd say it was a very cool ride here. I've never been a part of a grand opening before, so it was a really cool opportunity. As far as I know, statistic-wise, we had about 2,000 people within 4 hours. It was crazy, but a good crazy. Because, when you're in the library, day to day, you see the people come in, you see how happy they are, but to see that many people coming in, thrilled to get a library card, thrilled to be finding the Bluey books, thrilled that we've got a little garden they can go outside to, it like really puts it into perspective when you just see the whole community together and everyone like so overjoyed. It's amazing.
I'm a big plan for the worst, hope for the best kind of person. So if we had 20 people show up, it was still going to be a party. It was still going to be great. It far exceeded any number of, it was way beyond anything we could have expected. So I hope everybody loved it. It was packed all day. It was fantastic. It was a great day.
I have my desk here at this branch now. And so where before I didn't, and always was driving back and forth, back and forth. And so now I don't have that, and it frees up time for me to devote to other things like, you know, reviewing materials and connecting with families out on the floor in the library. Other than like keeping it, like seeing those younger families, than I even did at the mall. We're not that far, but for some reason, you know, now that we're in the heart of where everybody lives, these younger families are coming out. But now I can just have everything here. So yeah, no more wagon. So we have a designated children's programming room now, which is great. Like I can set up in advance and leave it there, and I don't have to worry about anything, and I can prep the night before. That's made a huge difference, like just in my time management of all my duties and everything. So that's a very nice space. We also have an outdoor space now that we can use, which is great because we have that garden club for kids, and we do container gardening out there with them. It's a nice safe area because it's fenced in, and the kids can get outside with, I just take a book out there and read, or if they're older kids, or, you know, our younger kids, I have toys I put out there, and they get to run around, where we didn't have that easily accessible outdoor space at the mall. So that's something that's been really nice.
I think it is really nice because you get to establish yourself in a new way. Like you get to make that name for the Liberty branch. We're a new place, and we're, you know, becoming our own library here.
After we've opened, it's been fun seeing people's faces when they come in for the first time. There's usually this look of wonder as they come in, and we can always tell when people are coming in for the first time because they're just looking around. Wow.
That has to be pretty exciting.
It is.
So how have things changed in, you know, the time since we've had the grand opening to roughly now?
So now that we've been open for several months, I feel like we're finally kind of hitting our stride. We've come to know what to expect as far as foot traffic is concerned. And based on how we complete tasks now compared to what we imagined they would be like before we've opened, we've reevaluated some decisions we've made, like where supplies live and how we keep track of tasks and things like that.
Definitely like a lot. Like when we first opened, it was like a struggle to figure out with that space, you know, where we could put, like if we want to put a display up, you know, trying to figure out, okay, we have this space up on the top of the shelf here. Can we use that for like a display? Which in the beginning we did use the tops of the shelves for that. But then we found out, okay, we have this piece of furniture here. Could we move it up here to do like a new books display?
We could not have expected how well our patrons would have responded and embraced the new space, and how they've, you know, and something that's been so great to see is not just how well folks have responded to the programming offerings, but how many new cards have been created since we've been in that space, because it's not folks that, you know, they had been going to a different branch and now come to the new Liberty location. It's new families that are now coming to the library, and that's incredibly important.
I'm Taylor, and this is Theodore, and this is our first time here, but we've been going to the Trenton branch for the past few months. Okay. It's nice. I peeked through the window while we were waiting to come in of the children's section. It looks fun. I like how big this one is and spread out, lots more room.
So we definitely see a lot of families come to our programs and browse for books. Our reservable meeting rooms and our study rooms are also very popular. We also tend to see people who haven't been to a library in years. And so that's pretty exciting to see when they're excited about how much their library has to offer now. The responses have been very positive. First-time visitors usually comment on how bright and open the space is, and people tell us all the time how much they appreciate us being here in this location.
My name's Kelly. I come to the Westchester and Liberty branch. We come a lot on Tuesdays and Thursdays. My other son goes to preschool, so me and my younger son like to come and do play in this area and also go to the classes. We live nearby and it's kind of smaller, and we just really like the teacher who comes in here. We love Miss Lynn. So my son Miles always says he wants to come to the library with the kitchen.
I have noticed, like just walking through the library, is that we do get a lot of adults and teens coming in to utilize the study rooms and our bookable rooms. We have community groups that are using our community room, and it's been great to be able to offer that to them now, where we didn't have that designated space for them before.
My name is Kenyon, and I've been coming since the day it opened. So my family made a trip out here on the day it opened, and I've been coming ever since. It was a great time. I saw a really good turnout, and my girls enjoyed it. I have 3 girls, a junior, a freshman, and a 6th grader. So we came in and we got to tour, and we got to see everything and look at the book. So it was a great experience. I've been to the one in Westchester before, but I live here in Liberty Township, so it was awesome that one is actually close to me. I like the rooms, the meeting rooms, so I can come in and study or do work, and the ability. I haven't used the boardroom or any of that, and I see that you guys have activities and stuff that are going on and meetings, so hopefully one day I can take advantage of those as well. I have everything I need here, and it's closer to home, so it was just good to have one it takes me 10 minutes to get to.
I can't tell you how many times, even in the middle of 2-3 months after being open, they come in and they're like, still smells like a new library. At first I was like, what are you talking about? And then I stepped out into the foyer area and I'm like, came in here and I'm like, oh yeah, it does still have that new, I guess a library smell. I guess we're equating that, new car smell, new library smell. But they've just been so thrilled. Like I said, people saying they're so close by.
There's, folks waiting outside the door to get in. And like I say, there's folks, who are coming back to libraries for the first time in a long time. And, people using the meeting rooms all over the place. I mean, every time I go in and I'm thinking, oh, well, I'm going to take this quick meeting on my laptop, and I go looking for a study room. It's like, oh, okay, well, good for us, good for them. I am not sure where I'm going to do my thing, but I'm glad everybody's here. So, yeah, it's been really rewarding.
Do you have a favorite New Liberty Branch memory that you'd like to share?
So this is actually from the grand opening. I was back in the kids section for about 2 hours, and we had the balloon artist here. It was just so cute being able to sit back there. He had a line about the entire time, but seeing all the kids come up there, requesting the balloons and just being so thrilled that they got to come to the library.
Hands down, it's the grand opening. Like I said earlier, I've never been a part of anything like this before, and it was so gratifying to see everyone that came out, and the balloons and all the activities we had planned, and it was phenomenal.